Hey you guys, Marlyn with Beautiful Beena Designs, back with a very quick video on these Arteza Real Brush watercolor markers. If you watched my unboxing of the most recent Simon Says Stamp monthly card kit, you may recall that at the very end of that I shared that I bought these markers in hopes that I would enjoy using them with that kit. And I have to tell you that I am absolutely in love with these markers. I will use them with this kit, and I will use them for many other cards and projects as well. You may also recall, if you've seen some of my videos, that I've shared I'm not really a fan of Copic coloring. Once again, maybe someday I will get there, but right now it's just not for me. These markers are so much easier, in my opinion, to work with, and they give you beautiful results. Now, they are typically going to be a watercolor look, so they're different than the Copic final product, but equally beautiful, at least, again, in my opinion. So let me share with you a few of the card panels I've been working on using this Arteza 24 color marker set and the Simon Says stamps that came in the June 2018 kit. Now I have put my markers into this little basket for convenience. A few of the folks who have talked about Arteza markers on YouTube were disappointed that they didn't have colors on the barrels or numbers, and the folks at Arteza must have been listening to that, because they now do. Every marker has a color and a color name and a color number, which makes it really easy for sharing through YouTube tutorials or whatever the case may be, or even just making sure that you're keeping your color palette consistent. Let me show you a couple of the panels that I've put together. Now here, I'm about to share with you my very first one, Be Kind. This is the very first attempt that I made using these Arteza markers, and I made an amateur mistake for sure. I used my Memento black ink because it is a Copic friendly ink, and I was thinking marker coloring. Didn't really put enough thought into it, obviously, because the Memento ink with these watercolor markers obviously just ran all over the place. Now, once it started running, I decided to keep going with it, took my water, put that sort of turned into a gray wash all along the background, and then made just this one flower red. So I'm going to call this a happy accident because I kind of like the finished product, but this was definitely accidental, definitely a mistake. So later on, I moved to the Versa Fine ink, and several of these are very similar. Just a sneak peek at what I've done with these markers. So this was my second time working right after I got that black bleeding all over my card panel on the previous example. I went ahead and I created this. I hadn't even put the red on that one yet. It was just a mess. I put it off to the side and started here. Now, this might not be the most ideal color combination, but I really just wanted to see what these markers could do, what they were made of, and get a feel for a lot of the different colors. As you can see, with basically no watercolor experience and not very much marker coloring skill to speak of, I think that I was able to color these flowers pretty nicely. So I would definitely recommend these markers even to anybody who thinks they're not good with watercolors or they're not great marker colorers. Very easy to work with. Another example, we did again kind of a color wash. Now those previous examples used watercolor paper. This example here is a Bristol Smooth, and I went with just the one color. For this, I used the teal. Here it is. Let me see what they're calling it. For this example, I used Turtle Green, which is 127, Arteza color number. And I was hoping that this would match the Peacock cardstock, which came with the June 2018 kit from Simon Says Stamp. I think it will. I haven't put it up against that peacock cardstock yet, but I think that's going to look nice. That's my plan for it. Finally, my favorite example to share, this one here I used Distress embossing ink. That is the clear embossing ink that I use. And I put a rose gold embossing powder and then filled in those flowers with just very soft color. Again, this example uses the Bristol Smooth paper. I thought since this is so easy, we can do one example together. Right, so let's do this one together and you can see how quick and easy it is. What colors do we want to use? Why don't we go in with some red and pink for this one, and then I'll grab a couple of greens as well. There are a few different ways you can use these markers. You can absolutely take them right to the paper and then you can blend them with each other. You can blend them with water. To get the softer look that I'm going for with these particular stamps, what I do actually is I put the marker down on an acrylic block or my craft sheet, but in this instance an acrylic block. I'm going to use my paintbrush. This is a Royal and Langnickel. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and it is number 8 round. It's what I happen to be using today. I don't know that it matters that much. I am using a watercolor paper today, and I'm just going to go ahead and set some water down so that we can drop these colors in and get that soft look that I'd like to have for this particular card panel. Okay, once that's wet, we'll come over here and grab some of this color. And then what I do really is just drop it in for the looks that I got for some of these softer. Now that first example I showed you, which was very colorful, it had the orange and the purple, the pink, that I had taken the brush right to the paper and the colors were more pigmented but just as easy to work with. And it all depends what look you're going for, because that was, the markers used that way are beautiful as well. All right, so just dropping that in there. Now I'll leave that. I don't think you have to leave it to dry a little bit, but I leave it to dry a little bit and then I go back in with some darker colors. Let's go over here next door to this flower and go softer with that pink. As you can see, very little care. I got a little bit outside here, and what I'll simply do later is put some water on that and pick it up with a clean paper towel. Clean water, clean paper towel. It's like it never happened. It's like an eraser. Same thing there. I just got a little outside of the line. I try not to let it bleed so much. Alright, and we'll go in with some reds for this one. And let's add some darker tones here. And let's go get that center. Okay, you can see I'm by no means an expert. I am really winging this, making it up as I go, but that is how easy these markers are to work with. I wanted you to be able to see how I made these soft looks that I'll be using on my upcoming card share for these Simon Says Stamped card kit. Alright, now I'm going in with the greens on these flowers. And I'm going to mix these a little bit and then I'll come back in with the darker. And just put in a few dark spots for dimension and a more realistic look. But you can see I'm getting this done in very little time and with very little effort, honestly. I think that I'm getting a lot of look for the minimal effort it takes to color in with these Arteza markers. Applying with a paintbrush, obviously, but nonetheless, great markers, great markers. Now, I know that the Zig Real Brush Clean Color get a lot of attention. I've never used those. When I was looking into buying these markers, I did contemplate whether the Zig might be a better choice for me. The one thing that I did like about the Zig is that their real brush tips come to a little bit of a finer point. So I thought when you're taking the brush right to paper, you might be able to get into tighter spots. But really, these Arteza are making me really happy. I'm very happy with the results. And they were just roughly 2/3 the cost. So especially given that it's so easy to come in, I could use a fine paintbrush if I needed to get into fine lines. I'm just not convinced that I would be happy enough with the Zig to justify spending so much more money. Again, I haven't used them, so maybe I don't know what I don't know, but these markers are great. These Arteza markers are just fantastic. So I'm going to call that done for now, and you can see how easily I was able to drop color onto this panel and create that. On camera, it's a little bit more difficult because I don't like to get over top of the work when I do this at my normal desk and it's not being recorded. I do lean over the work a little bit more to stay in those lines a little bit better. But honestly, you can barely see the couple of spots where I went outside the line. So here's my last example to share with you today. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, I love hearing from you. Please leave them below. I'd love it if you'd become a subscriber. If you liked this video, as always, a thumbs up would be awesome. And really, above all, I hope that today I've inspired you to make beautiful things. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.